Hi, Richard.
Hi, Brian. How are you today?
I'm very good, thank you. And I think that today we have a very, very interesting topic for uh, chief information officers, COOs, and in general, board of directors or advisors, which
Hmm.
is a very hot topic that is also recurrently coming into the media, which is cybersecurity and technology debt in the operational systems.
Right.
So I think that today it worth to explore this link between cybersecurity and technological debt. Um, how to define these terms practically in business language, and show how leadership can make their choices about system providers, integrations, and directly shape both cost and risk, and also explain why it's not about eliminating all debt risk, but about making selective smart decisions so they can manage cybersecurity and technical debt as a kind of a leadership issues, not as an IT concerns only. So just usually dump these concerns into IT and figure it out, isn't it? So
Mm.
just I think that to begin, how do we define this then between cybersecurity and in an operational system?
Well, there's a lot of subtopics to cybersecurity, right? Intrusion, potential intrusion detection, penetration testing, all that kind of stuff. But cybersecurity isn't just firewalls and antivirus.
Right,
Those are important elements, but it's also about protecting the integrity, availability, and confidentiality of the systems that run your business.
right,
Assets, suppliers, orders, and people. If those systems are compromised, the business itself is compromised.
right. And so then in the other side, how would you define technical debt?
Oh, that's an easy one. Technical debt
Yeah,
is basically the consequence of choices,
right.
choosing systems or providers that don't scale, standing up a silo that forces manual reconciliations, delaying upgrades until change becomes painful.
Right.
Often the solution is to stitch those silos together with non-native integrations, quick connectors or APIs or manual bridges.
Right.
But those aren't true integration. They cause more fragility, more cost, and more risk.
Right. So why we should link then cybersecurity and technical debt together? So what
Well,
is it?
they're inseparable.
Right. All right.
Every piece of technical debt is also a potential vulnerability. The more
Yeah.
fragile your system landscape, or the larger the attack surface,
Right.
and the attack surface would, critical points of weakness are
Yeah.
those non-native integrations, right? And that
Right.
that increases your attack surface, right? And the
Right.
more fragile that system landscape, the more doors attackers can walk through.
Right. And how does technical debt usually appears in operational systems then?
Through shortcuts, basically.
Right.
Keeping legacy tools alive because they still work,
Right.
adding bolt-on apps for compliance, right? Stitching processes together with spreadsheets or
Yeah.
custom scripts. These may work in the short term, but they pile up into a very fragile environment.
Right. And why in terms of we mentioned leadership and boards, etc. So
Hmm.
why is more than just an IT concern in the current business environment, cyber cloud environment? So why or business environment? So today environment is not the same like 15, 20 years ago. So why is not just more an IT concern anymore?
Well, basically because of where, decisions originate in terms of system selection, provider selection, whether or not to go with an integration, a non-native integration, that kind of stuff. Because
Yeah.
the attack surface is is operational, not just technical. The systems that run orders, suppliers, HR, and assets are business critical. IT teams manage execution, but it's leadership decisions about systems, processes, and providers that define whether the organization accumulates resilience or technical debt.
Right. And we also have this big news, like a bank lost 50,000 of 500,000 data from credit cards, or a company having attacked and the database is sharing out in one of the leaking pages, etc. So why, or what is unique risk then for smaller companies or mid-market companies that they face? So they say, oh, that's for the big guys, it's not for us. What they face today?
They often underestimate their exposure. Many assume they're too small to be a target. But attackers look for weak defenses, not big brands. Every once in a while you hear about the big ticket intrusion, right? But the more common, the vast majority of attacks are on SMEs and MMEs, right? SMEs can't absorb the financial or reputational hit that larger enterprises sometimes survive. Right. So they have to be especially wary.
Right. So so then the non-native so we spoke about non-natives and native integrations.
In our Technical Tuesday.
That's right. So how that both like a cyber risk and tech debt relate to this topic?
Well, non-native integrations are usually the patch for past choices that got made, right? It's kind of like layering one thing on top of another, right? It keeps siloed systems connected, but at a price. Every connector or API or manual bridge is another moving part to maintain. That is technical debt, right? It adds fragility, and it also expands the attack surface, right? More credentials, more endpoints, more blind spots. On their own, individually, they may not cause a breach, but they multiply both the cost of paying that technical debt in terms of manual works, right? And it definitely increases risk over time.
So what happens if leadership delays addressing these issues then?
Well, debt compounds, right? All debt does compound, and so does technical debt. Each year of delay makes modernization harder and more expensive. And while you wait, your exposure to breaches and paying the cost of that technical debt only grows. You end up paying twice, once in added risk and again in higher future costs.
So, and we spoke in Technical Tuesday also about accounting systems. So on this particular topic, doesn't Trinity ask customers to integrate to their incumbent accounting software?
Good point. As we said earlier, it's not about eliminating 100% everything, right? Our Trinity to accounting software non-native integration is deliberate. Accounting is a separate ring-fenced domain. It's a ledger of record, and most SMEs and mid-market firms already have an established finance system in place. Replacing it would mean high cost with very little added benefit. Passing structured transactions into that system, debits and credits, amounts and dates, is fairly simple, well understood. It's an easy integration. These APIs are important mechanisms, and they've been hardened for decades, in those accounting systems, right? So the risk is low and the benefit is clear. So it's not about eliminating all risk. It's making sure that there's a very, very clear cost benefit in terms of the technical debt or the cyber risk. In contrast, as we said on our Technical Tuesday, governance and compliance must be native to operations, because that's where the cost and risk of silos, that's where it really explodes. And that's based on a heck of a lot of research, and a lot of the common approaches is building up silos in the governance, risk, and compliance space. It's a very, very difficult to maintain and a highly compounding technical debt.
So in terms of being pragmatic then, so what are practical steps that leaders can take today, and eventually what's the final takeaway of today's conversation?
Well, I would say firstly, accept that you can't eliminate all technical debt or
Right.
security risks, but you want to be cognizant of which ones you choose. You want to be
Right.
selective. I would always suggest that you ring fence, meaning that you build basically a blockade around your accounting, right?
Right.
If you go with some of our competitors where the accounting is part of the rest of the platform, that's not a ring fence, right?
Yeah.
That's native integration with accounting practices, right?
Yeah.
And I like accounting to be ring fenced because replacing it adds very little benefit to our customers,
Right.
right? I would suggest that they reduce aggressively where it matters,
Right.
and embed governance natively into operations. That's
Right.
a really, really key important point. It's something that I consider very, very important. And it's why we created Trinity the way it exists right now.
Right.
Yeah. And I would also suggest that leaders treat technical debt as risk. It's not an IT backlog. Yeah.
Right.
They should simplify wherever possible. And sometimes there's no benefit to the simplification,
Yeah.
right? So the key takeaway is that security and technical debts are about choices.
Right.
You don't have to remove everything, but you do have to be selective.
Yeah.
Native where it matters, pragmatic where it doesn't. Leadership owns that balance, not the IT team.
Right. Fantastic. Because I think that this is very important, just to have these clarifications, because today is pretty much is dumped into the IT departments, but not from the top down, where the strategy and the risk, particularly the risk that you mentioned several times, as it should be treated as a risk.
Yeah. Now, on this occasion, we're talking about cybersecurity
Yeah.
as it relates to compounding technical debt in
Yeah.
operation systems. That's a specific subset of cybersecurity as a whole.
Yeah.
And I would say that there are a lot of other elements of cybersecurity that need to be addressed. Some of them would sit entirely in the realm of your IT team, but this one in relation to native integration of GRC with operational systems, that's a technical debt that can be avoided. And I would say right now, that is the most costly technical debt that you can incur, is to not have them natively integrated.
Right.
An accounting integration is very, very low cost, low risk, and low security risk, right?
Right.
But not having the top floor connected to the shop floor, that adds up over time. And for SMEs and MMEs who are in a competitive environment and trying to do the best that they can, and needing feedback loops and making decisions daily, that kind of stuff, it's not a place to shortchange yourself. And that technical debt compounds very rapidly.
Yeah.
Especially as compliance frameworks evolve and change. It's happening right now. Suddenly, a lot of people caught out with EPR in the UK and wondering what the heck to do. Pay consultants, do a report, blah, blah, blah. They weren't prepared. Had they Trinity in their environment, they would have been easily prepared with a couple of policy changes in the GRC layer and automated reporting on packaging.
Right. Well, very practical example there. Excellent. Okay, Richard, I think that we...
So, well, if you take a look at ESG, it's similar. Something as simple as greenhouse gas emission calculations, that's an integration between GRC and operations that should exist. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. I think that we can close the call today, because I think there's a lot of to think about, is looking from top down rather than as an IT responsibility, if you may. Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much, Richard, and see you next week.
Great, Fred. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.